I'd been away for 4 days, just long enough to attend the most important meeting of my career in Los Angeles. My boss had called me out of nowhere, pushed me to the edge of my comfort zone. A big urban development competition I'd spent years working on. My dream project. But it was right when Aaron, my firstborn son, was barely 6 weeks old. I had felt the weight of the world on my shoulders, both professionally and personally. As I sat on the plane, exhausted, I kept staring at his picture on my phone. His sweet face, his big eyes, everything about him reminded me of what I was leaving behind. The moment I walked through the front door of my house, something didn't feel right. The usual scent of baby powder mixed with the faint smell of milk wasn't there. In its place was a heavy floral perfume, one I didn't recognize. I froze, my hand still on the door handle. What the hell? My heart pounded in my chest as I stepped inside. The living room looked different. Fashion magazines and a half-finished mug sat on the coffee table. A weight settled in my stomach. I started down the hallway, drawn to Aaron's room. And then I saw it. Madison, my younger sister, stood in the middle of what had once been my son's nursery. The crib was gone. The soft cream walls had been painted over with a garish pink. An oversized vanity now occupied the corner where his crib used to be. Madison, why is all of Aaron's stuff gone? What did you do? I demanded. She turned to me, smirking, completely unfazed. I cleared it out. It was in the way. This is my room now. I stood there, speechless, my blood running cold. What had just happened? The tightness in my chest was unbearable as I forced myself to ask, "What do you mean this is your room? Why would you do this without asking me?" Madison's eyes narrowed, her lips twisting into a smug grin. "I got permission from Mom. She said it was fine. Besides, you're not here, and Aaron doesn't need the room anymore. I'm moving in next week." The words didn't register at first. I couldn't believe it. My mother? She'd given Madison permission? The room I'd painstakingly designed for Aaron, the soft hues, the handmade crib, everything I'd envisioned for my son, had been tossed aside like it was nothing. I pulled out my phone, calling my mom immediately. When she picked up, I couldn't keep the tremor out of my voice. "Mom, why is Madison in my house? Why has she taken Aaron's room?" "Oh, honey," Mom sighed. "Madison's going through a rough patch. You're off in LA, doing your thing. Let her stay there for a while. It's no big deal. It's family, you know?" My stomach churned. No big deal? That was my son's room, his sanctuary. You let her just tear it apart? Tracy, you need to stop overreacting. She's family too. You have everything. Don't you think it's time to help her out? Her words echoed in my head like a sickening mantra. I could feel my face flushing, my vision narrowing. This wasn't about helping her. This was about disrespect, about my son's space being violated. You're not understanding, Mom. This isn't just a little favor. You don't get to give away my son's things. I ended the call, my hands shaking. Madison stood there, arms crossed, smirking. "Madison, get out of my house. Now." But she just laughed. "Not happening. You're going to have to fight me for it." I stormed toward Madison, my hands trembling with fury. Every inch of the house felt foreign now. It wasn't just the room, it was everything. The walls, the furniture, the air. Everything had been taken over by her, with my mother's quiet approval. My heart pounded in my chest, the heat of anger rising fast, choking me. You don't get to do this, Madison. You don't get to walk into my house, rip apart my son's life, and pretend like it's nothing, I spat. Madison leaned back in the chair, her lips curling into a mocking smile. Relax, it's not like you even need it. You've got your perfect little family, your career, your fancy house. What's a room, right? Stop acting like this is about you, I yelled, my voice cracking. This is about my son. My baby. You've completely destroyed everything Joey and I worked for. This wasn't just a room. This was his space. He deserves that. I could barely breathe, my chest tight with panic. The thought of my son's things being thrown away, His crib, his toys, his first tiny shoes felt like an overwhelming weight pressing on me. I wasn't just angry, I felt betrayed. The one person I thought I could rely on, my sister, had just ripped apart everything I held dear. My phone buzzed, breaking the tension. It was Joey. "Hey, Tracy, I just spoke to Mom. Aaron's still sleeping, but he's starting to stir. I'll go grab him in a few." I stared at the screen, seeing Joey's name, his calm voice already soothing some of the chaos inside me. But then my gaze shifted back to Madison. She had her arms crossed, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. She knew I was breaking. She wanted me to. "Do you even care about family?" I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. Madison's smirk only deepened. "Family? Oh, I care. But only when it benefits me." I felt my legs tremble beneath me. This was it. This was the moment I snapped. "I'm calling the police," I whispered, already reaching for my phone. I pressed my phone to my ear, my hand shaking as I dialed. Madison's mocking laugh echoed through the hallway, a sharp, bitter sound that made my skin crawl. "What? You're really going to call the cops?" she scoffed. "Go ahead. It'll be hilarious when they find out you're just having a family squabble." But I wasn't backing down. My blood was still boiling, but there was something colder, more calculated, creeping through me now. The tight knot in my chest had transformed into a hard, unyielding resolve. This wasn't just a fight anymore. This was war. The police dispatcher answered quickly, her calm voice a stark contrast to the chaos in my mind. "Hello, I need help. There's someone illegally occupying my house," I said, my voice unnervingly steady. "You're saying someone is trespassing on your property?" she asked. "Yes," I snapped, feeling the weight of my own words. "And they've damaged property. They've taken personal belongings, and I'm not standing for it anymore." Madison's face fell, but she quickly regained her smug composure. "You're making a huge mistake," she said, her voice low, her eyes flicking nervously between me and the door. I didn't respond. I simply hung up and turned to Joey's text again. He was just outside. The sound of sirens in the distance was like a drumbeat getting louder. I stood frozen, my hand still tight on my phone. Madison paced in circles, running her fingers through her hair. She was losing it, and for the first time I felt a sense of power. The police arrived moments later, 2 officers stepping inside. One was a tall, stern-looking man with graying hair. The other was younger, with a calm, quiet presence. They looked at me first, then at Madison, who immediately tried to explain herself. "I have my mother's permission," she said quickly. "This is just a misunderstanding." But the officers didn't buy it. The older one raised an eyebrow, his voice firm. "You're saying you entered the house with permission?" He looked at me. "Did you give her permission?" "No," I said, shaking my head. "I didn't." He turned to the younger officer and gave a slight nod. "Let's take a look at the footage." I could feel Madison's eyes boring into me, but I held my ground, my breath coming faster, sharper. "Footage?" she said, her voice rising. "What footage?" Joey, having arrived just moments before, stepped forward with a grim expression, his phone in hand. "We've got video from the security cameras," he said, his voice quiet but carrying a weight that made Madison's jaw tighten. The officers watched the footage, and I could see the color draining from Madison's face as the camera captured her and my mother hauling out Aaron's crib and throwing away his things. The camera didn't lie. There was no hiding the truth. "I told you," Joey said, his voice soft but firm. "This is not just a family squabble." Madison stood there, her expression flickering between defiance and panic. The younger officer finally spoke, his voice low. "This is unlawful entry, property damage, and theft. We'll be filing a report. You'll need to come with us." Madison's face twisted, her anger flaring up again. "This is insane. You can't—" But it was too late. The officers escorted her out, and I stood there, breathing heavily, the adrenaline of the moment finally starting to fade. My hand still shook, but something had changed inside me. It took weeks before everything started to settle. The phone calls, the legal paperwork, the quiet conversations with Joey in the middle of the night. We had to gather evidence, file reports, and take every step necessary to make sure Madison and my mother couldn't just walk away from what they had done. When Madison was formally charged with unlawful entry, property damage, and theft, I couldn't feel anything but cold. I had won, yes, but at what cost? My sister, my mother, the two people I had trusted most, had turned on me. I had cut them off entirely, refusing all communication, and it stung in ways I hadn't expected. But it was necessary. For Aaron, for Joey, for me. One day, as I sat in the living room with Joey, the weight of the silence finally broke. "I don't regret it," I said softly, the words almost a relief as they left my lips. "I'm doing what's right for Aaron, for our family. This is the future we've worked so hard for." Joey nodded, squeezing my hand. "We'll rebuild. We're stronger now." The house felt different, lighter even. After everything, after the courtroom battles and the constant reminders of betrayal, I could finally breathe again. Aaron's room was restored, even more beautiful than before. It was a place of peace now, not just for him, but for all of us. His tiny clothes hung neatly in the closet. His crib stood at the center, just as I had once imagined it. Looking at Aaron, watching him play, I realized something important. Family isn't just defined by blood. It's defined by love, by the care you give and the protection you offer. I had fought for him. I had fought for us. As I sat back on the couch, Aaron asleep in my arms, I thought about what had happened. Maybe sometimes, to protect what matters, you have to burn bridges. And maybe that's okay. Because I wasn't just his mother. I was his protector. And nothing would ever change that.